Hey everyone, my name is Eric Worth. I'm the VP of Operations here at StatusCast and one of its founders as well. Over the last 10 years, I've spent a lot of time viewing different status pages and listening to organizations about what they want to have on their own page. As status pages have become much more commonplace, the idea of their structure and what they should have really has changed quite a bit. Where once the cookie cutter status page was viewed as the gold standard, we're finding that in general, people want much more control over their page. Marketing teams want your branding present from head to toe. Management wants information presented in certain orders. Stakeholders want additional information. End users want unique views. Really, the list of wants is endless. And at the end of the day, here at StatusCast, we believe you should have the flexibility in controlling how your data is presented, both on the status page as well as in notifications. In today's webinar, I would like to walk you through StatusCast's approach to customization. We'll have a Q&A session at the end, so please save any questions you have until then. This should be a no-brainer, but it should be easy to build your status page. I've worked with companies who previously had to submit development tickets to get something as simple as a service name updated. And at that point, we're just wasting everybody's time. With StatusCast, we can give you an easy-to-use drag and drop page builder that lets you focus on how you want the information to be presented. Pre-made templates let you apply styling with ease to make your page beautiful. Utilize multi and single column approaches for displaying data. And with our experience, we're always happy to help organizations get the look and feel of their page to be where it needs to be. Brand requirements these days are pretty strict. Your marketing team probably has an approved list of colors, fonts, and styles that you need to adhere to. Having access to modify CSS and apply themes means you can meet these requirements easily. And it's important that your status page be able to support brand requirements, as at the end of the day, your status page is a representation of your organization overall. Users flowing from your site or your application to the status page should have a sense of familiarity. Custom status page views. Just with the design of your status page, we don't want to force your end users into a cookie cutter view. Most status pages have multiple types of audiences, ranging from anonymous internet users to paid customers to employees to C-suite executives. So your status page will have lots of different points of views accessing it. And being able to filter a page and provide more relevant information to the viewer will ultimately increase the value. StatusCast will allow you to display different content to users based on your URL filters, such as components or language, access roles, audience groups, and even component subscriptions. So there are lots of ways to present unique views to the individual. Emails. Leveraging status page's ability to send notifications is probably one of the most powerful things you can do to the status page itself, as it'll make the entire process proactive for your end users. When you post something onto your page, somebody can get an email about it without even having to go to the page itself. But how do those emails look? Ensuring your brand is represented in notifications is extremely important, and I bet your marketing team would agree. StatusCast gives you the flexibility in maintaining your brand templates. From macro support to full HTML access, your notifications can maintain your organization's brand with ease. Now, we've talked a bit about the tools that StatusCast can provide you, but I want to shift gears and give you a quick demo of how this all can be applied. After the quick demo, I'd like to give you a look at a few real-world examples built using StatusCast's platform as well. So we're going to go ahead and get out of our presentation real quick and hop over just a demo status page that we've put together. Now, I think this page here is a good representation of the cookie cutter status page. We're often looking at a single service status list widget that's giving us a long list that's trying to condense a lot of information together, from a service status list, the actual current status of all of these, a history, uptime percentages. There's a lot of information. And as an end user, if I want to find something on this page, really have to go hunting for it. We might even have a link at the bottom too that gives us the ability to kind of go back in time. But the problem with this type of page in my eyes is that it requires the end user just to do a little bit too much work on their own. And at the end of the day, the status page is something that you're going to when you are experiencing an issue. So you don't want to go to a resource and really feel like you have to hunt around. I'd like to take this page and kind of give it a once over to make it look a little bit better, give the user a little bit more functionality, and just see how easy it is to do something like this within StatusCast. Now, I'm logged into this page as the administrator of my account. So when I click this drop down in the bottom, in the top right, we do see I have this page design link. I can go to this, and this is going to be where we actually start the process of building a page. StatusCast, we make this easy. The first thing we want to just really kind of think about before we're worried with how the page is styled and all the themes and colors is just the presentation and the layout of your data. Everything is drag and drop. So we have a few kind of widgets pre-made on this page. And we can see here, I can do simple things like change around their columning if we want to maybe have some of these widgets be in multiple columns or in single columns. Everything here on the right is going to give us our kind of primary widgets that we can drag and drop. Now, as I said, I think this page off the bat was kind of making me do a little bit more work than I want. And this page for me, I have a couple types of audiences that we might want accessing it. This is a public status page, so maybe I want to have a limited view to kind of the anonymous internet user. And then we want to provide maybe more information to paid customers. So let's go ahead and make a couple quick changes to this page. First, we're just going to turn off history real quick and not force this page to expand everything. Again, I don't want people to see 100 different services in one single list. We want to make this an easy one to kind of digest. So we're going to apply that and real quick just add in our current status widget right here. This is, if we click edit here, just going to give me some options to control components that are being filtered. So I have lots of ways we can kind of modify these widgets. I can also make some basic layout decisions, if we want to change the name or, change some of the ways that this is maybe styled to the end user. It's all just as simple as making these changes within the app. Now I've taken away the historic access from that service status list. So let's real quick add in a incident list. I'm going to pull in my incident list widget. And I'm really only concerned in this list of maybe giving people a handful of events, let's say within this last 7 days, and max out at maybe 3. But, again, we only want closed events. So I don't want anything that's upcoming. So we just want to show us any filtered closed events. And let's just rename this real quick to recent incidents, just again to give us a quick view at how easy this can be to apply. We'll click Save Changes and come back out to my exit editing. And we're going to see the page has taken a pretty drastic change already. And we've only just taken really a minute and only looked at a couple different things. But now I come to this page as an end user. I see this current status is sticking me right there in the face. I don't have to go hunting for it if there being any kind of incident or status going on. I have a better view of my list. I can allow users to expand this kind of on their own if they choose to. And then again, I'm giving you maybe a brief summarized list of what's going on. But this is really just sort of starting to chip away at what we would want to do with most status pages. Now, as I said, I have a couple different audiences that we want to take note of. So let's go back real quick into my page designer. And again, we are just going to access my list of widgets. And there are a couple historic based widgets that I want to offer to folks who have actually signed into my status page. So let's just real quick take our history grid widget. And let's put that right into there. And I want a table of contents to give people a better idea of all the types of incidents or events that I'm going to be posting. And then just for an additional view, let's throw in a calendar below this as well. Now I've added these all to the page, but I don't want these showing up just to everybody in the world. So I'm going to go to layout and say that my minimum role for this, it shouldn't be everyone. I don't want my anonymous internet users to see it. I want subscribers to see these things. So let's just modify these real quick. We're going to let this show our children. And again, we're just going to make this subscriber based, and we're going to make this calendar based, set to subscriber as well. We'll click apply. Now I'm going to open this up really briefly in, let's come back here to my status page. And we're going to see here again that I now have some additional widgets popping up. Now I'm authenticated to this page. It knows who I am. So that's why it's showing me these. But if we were to real quick log out of this page, just to show us the functionality, we're going to see that a chunk of my page actually is no longer rendered to me. Again, the page doesn't want to show this historic content just to anybody. It wants to make sure that I am known. And in this case, that I have an approved login. So let's just real quick log me back in as a full user. And again, we're going to see that now that I'm logged in, I'm going to be sent to my admin portal just because I am an administrator. But coming back down again, we now see that the page has a slightly fuller experience. Again, there's more data being shown to us. And again, based on my role, who is actually accessing the page, I'm making some basic decisions about what kind of content to show. Now, the last part of this page that's honestly really bothering me right now is just the styling of this. This is a very plain looking stage out of the box. If we come back into page design, we can very easily see that we can expand this. We can go to edit theme. Now, there are a lot of ways that we can edit a theme. You can have a designer come through and do this for yourself, but we have a lot of themes that will kind of do this for you off the bat. So we always recommend, checking out some of our pre-made ones, and then you can kind of refine from there. Or, again, if you have a marketing resource you might want to refine, you can. And there are a lot of cool things we can do with CSS. I actually have a pre-built theme that I'm just going to copy and paste directly in here. We're just going to click save. And again, one more time, we're going to go back out to my page, and we're just going to see now we have a lot more styling that's been applied. Edges are much softer. I've rounded things over. We've made some styling and some color changes overall. But this, in the end of the day, it really wasn't rocket science. And this was all done simply within the web application itself. So it was very easy to perform this. And there are lots of ways that we can potentially further customize this, whether we're customizing routes based on audience through groups, giving filter drop downs, etc. And like I said, I wanted to go through just a quick demo of how we can kind of build out these pages and run through some of the customization of them. The one other aspect kind of to customization that we went through in the slides was talking about email customization. And I'd like to switch gears just briefly into the admin portal of StatusCast to give you a look at that. So I'm just going to, from my drop down, go to administration. And we want to real quick go to settings and brand templates. Brand templates is the area where you can kind of see and control all of the emails and notifications we would be sending out. And you look at the templates that we would be using. Now, this is event driven, so I can go in here and say, let's pick up the email that StatusCast would send when we want to send out a new maintenance. This is our default template out of the box here. It has all of the kind of core information we'd want, but it's certainly not going to be styled out of the box for any particular organization. You could easily come through here and use the editor to replace content or maybe swap out a logo. But the cool thing here is you have full source control. So, we've had a lot of companies come through here who have a existing email template that their marketing team or that their service team was previously using. They said, hey, we have to have this, maintained in StatusCast. And it's easy for us to do it because we just let you import the HTML and swap out macros where you need to be. So this is a very easy process. And just as a quick example, you can go from what we had in that default to something like this, where, again, the flow of the email, what I'm choosing to list out to people is going to be directed based on my organization's requirements. So again, things like, font stylings, if there's an existing template, all of this is very easy to maintain. And you have full access to control all of this at the very end of the day. Now, we looked a bit at this demo account. Like I said, I wanted to go through a couple just real-world examples and highlight some of the functionalities from customization on the status page that we've seen our own clients actually implement. So we're going to switch tabs real quick and go over to Malwarebytes' status page. I think the Malwarebytes status page is an awesome example of how you can take CSS and really run with it. The overall page kind of construction, it gives us a very simple view. And this is perfect because, like I said earlier, we don't want users to hunt for what's going on. I can go to their page and immediately know if there's something going on. And we have some basic widgets that aren't giving us a crazy long list that, again, gives us a summary info. But the thing that always catches my eye about this page is just the CSS. I'm kind of weird. I think status pages can be beautiful, and this is a beautiful status page at the end of the day. We support any kind of modern CSS that you could think of. So this page is actually extra cool in my book because it is keying off of your operating system's theme. So I'm on a dark theme on Windows, which is why we're getting a dark version of the page. If you were to access this using like a light theme for your operating system or browser, you'd see a totally different styling. So you're able to make some theme choices based off that. This is also great for accessibility with users who are making certain operating system choices based on accessibility. We can modify based on that as well. Next quick example to take a run through is just going to be one of our many universities using StatusCast, VCU. I think this page gives us a lot of great information and, again, styling that adheres to their brand. But the thing I always like about this page is they actually took the full header and footer from their own resource and they implemented it directly onto our status page. So we do support letting you kind of put in your own HTML content, whether it's directly into a widget form or if it's being kind of built into widgets and footers. Lots of ways you can, again, kind of put your brand, again, make this feel familiar so that a user can go from VCUs, student facing resources directly to the status page, and it feels just like home for them at the end of the day. The last status page that I want to just quickly kind of highlight just for some of the features is Fastly. Fastly has done just a fantastic job of putting together their status page and really utilizing a lot of the features that we have under the hood to make this page as good as it is. First, we have a custom kind of content widget. These are all third-party resources that are being linked out to from the status page. So Fastly obviously spent a bit of time to put in this extra content that appears with the current status at the top of the page, something that we easily allow you to do. We can see they've actually also replaced our default icons. So, we do have defaults for everything, but we let you replace everything under the sun as well. So this is a good highlight of that, where we can make those icons prevalent on a single widget or on multiple in this case. They're also utilizing the capability to, do some cool filtering on the status page. So, again, Fastly, who's offering a lot of different products and services. Perhaps I'm someone who's, in North America, and their products and services hosted in NA are the only things relevant to me. I can tell the page to filter itself. So this gives, again, kind of more audience specific views. There are other ways we can do this as well, where, again, we might be keying off of things in a URL, like I had mentioned earlier. But this gives us a really good glance in terms of how we can start to make the status page be a little bit more useful for certain individuals. You can pass out links to specific folks to kind of have the page pre-rendered. If we're using things like audience groups, again, once you authenticate and we know what kind of access you have, we can make choices about, again, what widgets display, or again, maybe what components within that, anything kind of under the sun in that regard. But I think these 3 pages are great examples of how you can kind of take StatusCast's customization features and really run with it to provide just a great resource to your end users at the end of the day. Because, as I said earlier, your status page, it's for your end users to go to when they need something, and you don't want to really kind of make them dig around or get lost within the grain. You want it to be a useful resource. And again, at the end of the day, that's going to be required to think about the layout and the design a little bit more than just kind of throwing out that that cookie cutter list that we see so often. So that's going to wrap things up for the demo side of what we are going to be going over today. I did want to open up the floor to see if anybody had any questions. So I'll give just a moment for, feel free to type those into the public chat or into the private chat as well. We can go through both of those. I'm just starting to look through some of the ones that have piped in. This is a great question. Can you set different email templates based on the event type? Yes, I think I was shown that earlier when I brought up the brand templates. You have the ability to buy event type. So let's say scheduled maintenance versus incident. Say this is the brand template that I want to use. It's really common. We see this in a lot of deployments where you want the maintenance emails, something that's effectively planned, to look a lot different from something that is unplanned. So that, and that's based on event as well. So your resolved email template you can have control over versus the template that we send out when, for a new event or a new maintenance. So there's lots of granularity there. And again, full HTML access control. Just looking at, so can we embed status page content onto other sites? So if you are using a public status page, let me go back out into one of my pages real quick. We do have the capability to actually embed widgets. I'm just going to bring up my page designer real quick to show you how kind of easy and quick this is. Let's do customize. Oh, you know what? Hold up. Let me bring up another page. Was not prepared for that question, but it's an excellent one. So I want to show you our methodology for this. It's going to bring up a different one of my pages, and I have this little embed button right here. So for public status pages, you can take any widget we have under the sun, and we can actually give you just a small bit of JavaScript and HTML to add to your site that lets us kind of pull this out. These are as configurable as the widgets overall that I showed you earlier. So really everything that we can see from a general config perspective, you could have maintained here. And again, that is going to suck up kind of our version. Even if you styled our widget to look in a particular way, we can import your styled widget somewhere else. So this is great for kind of putting that out into different spots on your site or your application or wherever that might be useful. This is a good basic one. Can we customize the URL of our status page? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. And that's probably one of the more typical things that we see get done. So if we go to fastlystatus.com, for example, that's going to take us to Fastly's status page built on our platform. So we do support CNAMEs out of the box. It's one of the more typical ones that most companies want to have set up, especially if it's a public facing status page. Again, that idea of brand carries over to the domain they're accessing it on. By default, all status pages are going to be under a status.page domain. So fastly.status.page would have been their default one. It's not a bad one out of the box, but again, you may want to maintain that brand authority with the domain as well. Can you set your own favicon? Yes, you can. You might be able to see in this a couple of these pages I brought up. Actually, all of them have their own favicon set based on their company logo. So that is just a design setting within Status Cast. You can upload your own favicon. Can we preset languages? This is another actually cool one. I'm glad someone brought this up because I should have activated it on my demo page. One of the coolest things that we offer is a native integration with Google Translate. So let's go back into my status page. Again, I want to make this page a little bit more useful to my end users. I want to offer Google Translate. So we'll just click this button. And again, you'll see this is so easy to come in here and just update my page as I need to. As things evolve, and maybe, we initially released this page, we didn't want to have a lot of localization support. And then 3 months later, we decided, hey, we do. It's as simple as just, again, coming in here and checking a box. So now I have Google Translate on this page. Maybe I want to let somebody view this in, let's say, German. It's as simple as clicking this button, and it's going to interact with Google Translate the way you'd expect it to. We can also key off of a language code in the URL. So if you want to, again, preload the page to certain folks to like French, for example, if they're hitting a certain link from your site, you can always do that. We've had clients using SSO who actually pass in language of the user coming from their intranet, and we can translate the page based on that. Lots of cool ways we can kind of translate this stuff based on that. I'm just looking to see. I think that is all the questions, that we don't see anyone else kind of popping through. So again, I'd like to thank everybody, for their time today and watching this webinar. I hope you got something out of it in terms of what we can potentially do from a design perspective. And at the very least, you should maybe think a little bit more about the layout of your own status page if you have one currently. This is always a resource that we say, people are accessing when things are on fire. So like I've said this a couple of times in this webinar today, we need to think about, and we need to be make sure that these pages, are functional and that they're good and that they look good at the end of the day for your end users, because that is all important in that brand journey. So again, I thank everyone for their time today. A copy of this webinar should be emailed out to you after the fact. And if you have any other follow-up questions, please feel free to contact us. If you are not a current customer of StatusCast, please feel free to reach out to us at sales@statuscast.com. You can reference me in this webinar, and we can have a quick chat. If you are an existing customer of StatusCast and you want to have a little bit more info in terms of some of the features I walked through today, or maybe if you had some ideas of customizing your page and how we could do that, please reach out to our support team. We'd be more than happy to help you out with that. Either spin up a chat with us through through the web app, or shoot an email over to support@statuscast.com, and we'll make sure to help you out. Again, thanks for everyone's time today. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.